This is a beginner-friendly tutorial for a linen stitch scarf. You will already need to know how to crochet, but this pattern only uses single crochets and chains, so it's very easy to learn and perfect as a first project. For this scarf, you're going to need 300 meters of a chunky or bulky weight yarn and a 6mm hook. If you don't have that yarn, don't worry, because we can adapt this pattern to any size yarn and any size hook. To start our scarf, we're going to make a slip knot. You can use any method you prefer. This is how I like to make my slip knots. I put my hook to one side of the working yarn and I pull out. Then I rotate my hook 360 degrees to make this twist. This is what I use instead of a slip knot, but feel free to insert your own slip knot here. We're now going to make a chain, and that chain needs to be the width that you want your scarf to be. It also needs to be an even number. So just as a quick reminder for a chain, we yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. And keep doing this until the chain is the length that you want the width of your scarf to be. For those using chunky yarn, I recommend a 28 chain start. So I've made my chain of 28 stitches. If you're not sure how to count your chains, the chains are made up of these V's, and each one of those V's is one chain. You don't count the loop that's on your hook, so you should have an even number. So now we're ready to start row 1. We're going to be skipping those first 3 chains from our hook. We don't count the one that's on our hook, so 1, 2, 3. We're going to be skipping all 3 of those chains, and we're going to be making our first stitch into that 4th chain from my hook. It doesn't matter if you go under 1 or 2 threads when you put your hook into that chain. We're now going to make a single crochet. So that's a single crochet in US terminology or a double crochet in UK terminology. Just as a reminder, for that single crochet, we put our hook into the chain, we yarn over and pull up a loop. We then have 2 loops on our hook, so we yarn over and pull through both of those loops there. That was a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 1, so yarn over, pull through. Then we're going to skip the next chain and make a single crochet into the chain after that. So we're skipping 1 chain and making a single crochet into the chain after that. So if I show you, we've done a single crochet, then we've skipped a stitch whilst making a chain and then made a single crochet into that next chain. And we're going to repeat this until the end of the chain. So I'm going to yarn over, skip a chain and work a single crochet into that next chain. And then I'm going to chain 1, skip a chain, and then do a single crochet into that chain. Make a chain, skip a chain, and then make a single crochet into that next chain. So continue this all the way along until you get to the end of your chain, and I will meet you back at the end of this chain so we can start row 2. So I've continued those steps all the way along my chain, and my very last stitch was a single crochet, not a chain 1, single crochet into that last chain. So now we're ready to learn row 2, and row 2 is the same row you're going to repeat over and over again for the length of your scarf. So to start row 2, you need to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to turn our work, and that means we're going to turn our scarf over and work from the back. And then we're going to skip those 2 chains that we just made and that single crochet. For linen stitch, we never work in the top of the single crochet stitches. We only work in those chain spaces between the single crochets there. You might need to stretch your work about a bit if you're a tight crocheter. So we're going to make a single crochet into that first chain 1 space, skipping those 2 chains and that single crochet. So I'm going to make a single crochet there. And then I'm going to chain 1, skip the next single crochet and make a single crochet in the next chain 1 space. And then I'm going to chain 1, skip that single crochet and make a single crochet into that chain 1 space. So the linen stitch is fairly easy. We're actually going to repeat this for the rest of our scarf. So on every row you repeat this. So we chain 1, skip our single crochet, and then make a single crochet in the next chain all the way along. So the end of your row should always be a single crochet, and the start of your row should always be a chain 2. So continue doing that until the scarf is the length you want it to be. If you want to learn how to change colours during your scarf, I'll pop a link to my tutorial about changing colours up at the top of the screen. But I'm just going to continue my scarf now until it's finished, and I'll show you how I'm going to sew up those ends to turn it into an infinity scarf. So I've now finished crocheting my scarf, and I've cut my yarn tail very long because I'm going to use this to sew the 2 ends of my scarf together. So I'm going to pull that yarn tail through that last stitch. You can see I might have cut this tail a little bit too long, but never mind. And then I'm going to thread that yarn tail onto a blunt large eye tapestry needle. So now I'm going to lay the 2 ends of my scarf on top of each other. I folded my scarf in half and there isn't a twist in it, so make sure there's not a twist in it. And then we're going to use a stitch called whip stitch to join these together. So I'm actually going to flip these over because I prefer working whip stitch from this side to this side. And then we're going to simply do a whip stitch, which is an over stitch to stitch the 2 sides together. So my first stitch is going to be through that chain there that's just to the right hand side of that single crochet. So this is where we started our scarf, this side, and then this side is where my yarn tail is, and that's the last row. So I'm going to go under both of the loops of that single crochet on that side of the scarf. And I'm going to pull my yarn through and pull it fairly snug, not really tight, but quite snug. And then we're going to move along to the next chain. So I'm going to put my needle underneath that loop of that chain there, and then underneath both of the loops of the chain on this side of the scarf as well. So just like that. And I'm going to repeat this all the way along my scarf, going into that chain and then under both loops of that last stitch. So I'm joining the top and the bottom of my scarf together. This is entirely optional. You can leave your scarf as a normal scarf if you want to. Once you've finished your seam, don't forget to weave in all of your yarn ends. And here is the finished scarf. Let me know in the comments what tutorials you'd like to see next.